Technologies, and you are welcome to our series, The Great Kings of India. We had been discussing about Ashoka the Great. We have done in last episode the overview of Ashoka, and today we'll be discussing about administration of Ashoka. Ashoka is a very interesting personality because at one phase of his life he is a tyrant, and on the other phase of his life he has become a benevolent king, a father figure to his subject. To discuss more about this administration, the subject of Ashoka's administration, we would like to invite Professor Meeta Joshi, who is the head of the department of one of the prestigious college in Hyderabad, St. Anne's College of Women. So without wasting any further moment, I would like to welcome Professor Meeta Joshi. Welcome to the show, Meeta ji. How are you doing today?
Namaskar, Kanchan. I'm fine. How are you?
I am fine, Meeta ji. So, you know that we had been discussing about Ashoka, and I would like to hear more about the administration of Ashoka so that our viewers benefit and they should know how good administrator Ashoka was. So, we would like to know more about his personality and administration.
Okay. See, Ashoka's administration is very unique because it was influenced by the principles of Arthashastra. Arthashastra is an old text written by Kautilya or Chanakya. His original name was Vishnugupta. And Chanakya was the person who was the mentor of Chandragupta Maurya. And he was the person behind the fall of Nanda dynasty. After that, only Chandragupta Maurya could establish the Mauryan Empire. So, the administration of Ashoka is greatly influenced by the principles of Arthashastra because Vishnugupta's grandson, Sagar Gupta, was in the cabinet of Ashoka. Actually, Sagar Gupta was the person associated with Ashoka's father Bindusar, but Bindusar had an inclination towards his elder son, Sushil, and he wanted Sushil to become the crown prince. Total, there were 101 sons of Bindusar, it is said, but from all of them, he liked Sushil. And why he disliked Ashoka was because of his looks. Ashoka was not a very good-looking person. So when Ashoka was born, from that time only, he never liked Ashoka that much. Bindusar. Now, this Sagar Gupta has played a very important role in the coronation of Ashoka after the death of Bindusar, because when Bindusar was seriously ill, he called for his elder son Sushil, and he gave orders to Sagar Gupta. But Sagar Gupta deliberately he delayed the message to Sushil, and he called Ashoka instead, who was in Takshila that time. He was there to look after some civil war type of a thing. So Ashoka came, and finally Ashoka was coronated the king of Mauryan Empire after Bindusar. If you see, Ashoka very intelligently divided his empire into 4 provinces. They were Uttarpat and Dakshinapat, then Prachyapat and Avantiratha. So when you say Uttarpat, you can make out from the name, it was the northern province with its capital at Takshila. Then they had this western province, Avantiratha, with headquarters at Ujjain. After Avantiratha, the Prachyapatha, the eastern province, with its headquarters at Tosala, and finally Dakshinapat, with capital at Suvarnagiri.
Yes.
But
yes,
Ashoka,
very big empire. So we all these provinces was having a capital to really work in a good to have a good administration.
How much you can imagine that how much organized Ashoka was at that time. Okay, So he had his headquarters at Patliputra. Patliputra was his capital in Magadha, and from there he managed all the four provinces. Because Ashoka's empire was very vast, it went up to uh, now your modern Pakistan, Iran, Bangladesh. All that area was covered under the Ashokan Empire. So, sitting at Patliputra, Ashoka had all the information about the entire empire through his network of spies. He had spies posted at every nook and corner of the empire, and any problem, any outbreak, civil outbreak, everything, any fear of invasions from outside, everything was reported to the king. So, king was the head, Ashoka was the head of the administration. Then he had a council of ministers. Now, these ministers, there were three important ministers. They were Rajuka and um, uh, Rajuka, Yukta, and Pradeshika. So, Pradeshika are the people who are managing the provinces. Rajuka are there to survey and assess the land because revenue was very important, land revenue, to run the empire. The entire empire was, majorly based on the revenues which were coming in from the provinces. That was the income of the modern empire. So Pradeshika, Rajuka, and Yukta, these were the three main people in Ashoka's administration or council of ministers. Now, if we see, we further see this, then Pradeshika was the uh, in charge of overall administration of a district. So there was district, and the smallest unit was gram. Gram means the village. So that way, see, the administration was decentralized. King is sitting at Patliputra, but through his council of ministers, his team, he was able to look after the administration in a very, very organized and a disciplined manner. Both things were there. To keep the empire intact, such a vast empire, and to rule for 14 years without any, civil outbreaks or without any problems is an achievement. And Ashoka did that. See, he was a strategist, and after his conversion into Buddhism, he became more wise as a person. So he was managing both things, his spirituality and the administration. Now, if we see the revenue collection and the maintenance and assessment of land was done by Rajuka. He was the person in charge who would see all this revenue department, and he would the land was surveyed, it was assessed that which land is more fertile, from from where you can take more revenue. So everything was classified very, very properly. Okay, then the local administration was like this. There was a unit of 5 to 10 villages together. So in those villages, there was one head who was taking care of these 5 or 10 villages, and the intermediate level of administration between the district and that of a village was done by this person. Okay, then the tax collector there was known as Sthanika, because he is localized to that place only. So he was known as Sthanika. And the village, as I told you, was the smallest unit of administration, and it enjoyed autonomy to a great extent. See the beauty of the administration, that he gave freedom to the village head to operate at it at his own level. The village were given autonomy, which you hear now. This word autonomy is more popular now, but just imagine imagine in 261 BC, after the Kalinga War, when he was setting up his administration, he was very much aware about the autonomy.
Yeah, I think now
Ashoka.
we see that there's a village,
So,
we had panchayat,
individual,
everything is there. When we have district head, so I think where it is very similar.
yeah, yes,
Yes.
more or less the same, more
Hmm.
or less the same. And then the individual village had their own set of officials under Gopa. Gopa was again an official in who's under all these individual village heads. They were under this person known as Gopa. Okay, then Nagaraka, the city superintendent, was there, who looked after the law and order of the city. And under Nagarika, there was a Gopa Sthanika, who was the local person who used to maintain the law and order in the city. So, can you just see that king, then council of ministers, and then the other officials? So, it was a very, very well organized administration. Everything, each and every department was set up, and particular person was appointed the head of the department, like revenue department, provincial, civil administration. Everything was taken care of individually. And with the network of the spies, because the king was informed about every activity which was going on in his empire, so that he could suppress that then and there. See the beauty, that nothing was allowed to be big, any small discontent, or if the common public some discussions are going on. So the spies would immediately inform the king that this is happening. So immediately the king will take action and suppress that a little outbreak which was going to happen. So this is the beauty of
Yeah.
so
So what I feel is that he is a very he used to be very able administrator, but a part of this I think is very like of a benevolent king, and he acted as a father, because I have heard that he has put a stone carved with the directions that you should do this, you should not do this, for general public. So every day somebody is coming, something, a place like Chopal or something. So people are tend to by default reading those instructions every day, and in this I think will gives a lot of impact to the subject, isn't it?
yes, yes. And you, Kanchan, one thing which I forgot to mention is that before the Kalinga War, he was a very, very cruel and brutal king. Okay, because of his looks, he was not very good looking. So, if in this Buddhist text Mahavamsha, it is mentioned, which is written in Pali language, it is mentioned that when he was in his palace and he was surrounded by his, because he has many wives, so when he was surrounded by women, so the woman hesitated to touch him because of his skin. It was so uneven.
Oh,
So he got all those women, executed. He said, you burned them alive.
oh,
All these women, God put them in. He had a particular torture cell
oh,
in which people were tortured.
okay,
Okay, and then he took the title of Priyadarshi. Priyadarshi matlab who looks good.
okay,
So it was only through his power. He was not very good looking. Okay, but through his power he took that title Priyadarshi.
okay,
Deva Nam Pri. Deva Nam Pri. who is loved by gods. Okay, Chakravarti. Chakravarti means whose empire is very large and wide. Samrat, king. So all those titles he took because of his this complex which he had, and because of which his father never liked him. Bindusar never liked Ashoka. He always gave more encouragement to Sushil, who was his elder son. Only because somehow Bindusar did not like his appearance, his strategies, though Ashoka was a very good military strategist. Okay, and when any outbreak was there, na? One time, for example, I will give you one example. When there was an outbreak in Takshila and Ujjain, so that time Bindusar ordered his elder son Sushil to go and suppress the rebellion. But he could not do that. He could not do that. Then he called Sushil back and sent Ashoka. And Ashoka was able to suppress the rebellion. So he was a very good military strategist. And he is also known for his army, because his army had 9,000 huge elephants. 9,000 huge elephants. Then there were horses, there were oxen, there were, the cavalry, the people, soldiers who used to walk on foot. So his military was very organized, very organized. And with the help of the elephants, because when you are going for a war and you see a huge, um, uh, group of elephants moving towards you, a person gets psychologically weak because they are so, giants.
Right.
So that was also a very intelligent move of Ashoka, that he used those elephants in his warfare. And whenever there was no war, all those elephants and his army, military soldiers, they had a training in the morning without fail after the sunrise.
Yes.
And now it was
Something
not,
today also we have daily trainings in army, so something like that.
and now the training was not to wage wars, it was only to protect the empire from the invaders.
Yes, it is after, I think, after he became Buddhist. So he
Yes.
is keeping that army so that people around his kingdom or the kings around his kingdom should not have an idea that we can invade now Ashoka's empire.
Yes. So the army was there to guard the borders of the empire, to see that the common public in his kingdom was happy. And he had a very peaceful rule of 14 years. After the Kalinga War, he ruled for 14 years, and that rule was very much appreciated by the people. People were very happy in his rule because of his policies and his administration, because each and every minor thing was also addressed. Any common person, if he had a grievance, they were told to pass it to the Pradeshika, and the Pradeshika will pass it to the king. So that channel was there.
Yeah,
It was
great.
not that it was unaccessible. King was always accessible.
Yes, he's the king of
And
people.
yeah, he
King
was
of
the king of.
yeah.
And another little story I want to tell you about him is that once upon a time, when he saw a Buddhist monk going, passing uh, from near his palace, and he called for that monk. And when he called him inside his palace and asked that, "Who are you?" Then he told that his name was Nikrod, and he happened to be the son of his elder brother, whom he got killed for the throne.
Okay.
He was Sushin's son. So when he heard that he is Sushin's son, then he got more, empathetic about him, because he had this guilt feeling that he killed his father.
Yeah.
Then he asked Nikrod to take any seat in his, court. and Nigroth climbed and sat on his throne.
Okay.
But Ashoka didn't get angry, or he didn't show any signs of anger. He was happy. And it is said that after that, it was Nigroth who taught him all the Buddhist principles, and he told him more about Buddha. And then he got inclined towards Buddhism, because in the Buddhist text Mahavamsha and Deepvamsha, it is mentioned that when Buddha was visiting the empire of Magadha 100 years before the birth of Ashoka. So, in that birth, Ashoka met him when Buddha was there. And because Buddha was a bhikshu, he asked for this alms. And that time, then Ashoka gave him some soil, mitti. He put it in his patra, the bhiksha patra. And then Buddha prophesied that time that after my death, 100 years, he will be born as Ashoka, and he will be a big ruler. He will rule the Mauryan Empire. So this was the prediction of Buddha, and it came true. And it is mentioned in the Buddhist text of Deepvansh and Mahavamsha.
Yes. So we have discussed about the administration, and we have touched the unique and crucial point of Ashoka's administration. So I'll just wind up this episode now, and we'll be discussing tomorrow about the army of Ashoka and how he has dealt, how he has maintained his army. So till tomorrow, you take care, have a good day, bye-bye.
Thank you, Kanchi.